Well, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. My name is Don Parkinson. I'm Secretary of the Heritage, Arts, and Tourism Cabinet, and it's a pleasure to have you all here. It's good to see some park managers here, and it's good to see Senator Stivers and Senator Wise, who helped make all this possible today. We're in a great location. We have a terrific park system, and over the last 5 months, we've been out looking at a lot of parks around the state. We have 49 parks in Kentucky, and 17 of them are resort parks, and all of them need a lot of work. So when we started on this in January, we thought we could maybe use $7 million. We had nothing in the budget, but we needed some money to get things fixed up and moving. And so it went from 7, it went to 5, went back to 7. In the end, because of the support of the legislators and these two senators and our governor, we have 18 million. And we have 18 months to get it spent. These parks need it badly, and we're very excited about the future, well, what we can do with the park system. But I'd like to introduce you to the guy who likes parks and tourism more than even me, Governor Bevin. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Again, there's a lot of places you might be. There's not many more beautiful places that you might be than this, but thank you for coming out. I do so greatly appreciate the beauty of the outdoors and just how blessed we are here in Kentucky. We have a stunning array of state parks, but they have become a bit tired. I mean, you all know this. Those of you who work here and some of the others as well have seen this happen over time, and it's discouraging on the one hand because we realize what a natural, beautiful place we have, and yet we need to keep the aesthetics up. I actually, they would hate this, but I'm going to introduce two of my girls are with me up here in green and in sort of pink. That's Sophia and Olivia. You guys can wave there briefly. They through the years, we have had occasion to visit various state parks and things. And again, kids don't even see some of the things that parents do, but we want these places to be the types of places that parents come to and kids, and they all have a good time. Kids will notice, for example, if the pool is closed. And so those are the kind of things kids do notice. And so what we want to do in announcing this $18 million is give some encouragement to those of you who also care about these gems that we have. And you all know that, this Cumberland Falls in particular, this is a spectacular part of America. It really is. And I do want to give an extra thank you to those legislators. The two of them are here, Robert Stivers, Max Wise. These two guys continued to help me push this back through. Sometimes this will be shocking to you all. Sometimes what happens in Frankfort is things get political. I know it's hard to believe. And sometimes if I put something in there, somebody who's in a different party might want to take it out just because I put it in. And even when it's something good like fixing up our state parks, something that benefits people regardless of party, something that even helps the people themselves, if they're in a different party, they'll take it out. And that's what some of this tug of war was. There was a little in and out, but in the end, we did get good dollars put in. It's still just the beginning. We were just talking about the fact that, truth be told, we need to put a couple $100 million into our state parks. That's the reality of it. As much as $250 million to truly make them sparkle. And yet, without getting ahead of ourselves, you'll hear in a moment about the impact that this has on our economy. What a contributor this is to the wealth of this state. How much better it could be. The fact that it's actually up year on year over last year, and yet how much more it could be if these were the kind of places that people could come to, enjoy not only this kind of beautiful surroundings, but the kind of amenities that they expect as well. And of all the crazy things, although some might not like it, we live in a day and age where increasingly people like to actually have connectivity. Things like that go a long way as well. So we're working on those things. I am delighted by this. As a father of 9 children, we don't own a TV. I love to be able to come to places like this. I love to be able to get out and enjoy the beauty of creation. And we are fortunate, we are so blessed to be Kentuckians. We're fortunate to have a place like this. When we're done, we'll be happy to answer any questions as well that folks have. But because it's warm, I want to move us along. I just thank you for being here. I really do. Celebrate this moment with us, but expect more of the same. Expect us to be good stewards. Don Parkinson and his team will use this $18 million wisely. We will get the absolute best bang for the buck that we can. And then we will continue to, as we have more dollars to invest, do the very same thing as we move forward. Thank you for being here. God bless you. And I'm going to turn it over to Don, who will then segue off to Donnie.
Okay. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor. You know, we have a lot of work to get done here. We have 49 parks, 17 resort parks included in that 49, and all of them need capital. But tourism to us is a huge part of the Kentucky economy. It's the third biggest industry, and it's growing. We have sales up in tourism of about 5% so far this year. What's really encouraging is, though, room tax, the 1% we get on all the hotel rooms around the state, is up 11% so far this year, which is an amazing number. And the good thing about that is that gives us more advertising revenue to continue to drive sales. The tourism's important. It's 200,000 people work in the tourism industry in this state, so it's important that we keep growing this thing, and we're only scratching the surface. This 18 million is just a drop in the bucket, but it's an important drop, and it's going to continue to drive it. So we are very, very optimistic about the future, and we can hardly wait to get started. In fact, I think Donnie Holland, who is our Commissioner of Parks, is coming up here right now, has 4 teams already out there working and a lot of bids underway. So in the next 30 days or so, we're going to get even more projects moving. So Donnie, come on up and tell them what you're going to do.
Well, thank you, Governor Bevin and Secretary Parkinson, for being here today to help us kick off what we're calling Refreshing the Nation's Finest campaign, because it's always been known as the nation's finest, and this campaign is out to refresh it and fix it up a little bit. So that's the official name of the campaign, is Refreshing the Nation's Finest. Now, I've got quite a bit more detail. I'm going to shorten that just a little bit due to the heat here, but I want to hit the high points. It's appropriate that we're gathered here at Cumberland Falls State Park because it's such an iconic, historic park. It's a good place to start and kick off the campaign. It's a very famous park. I brought my grandson, who's 11 years old, and my wife up here last weekend. We stopped here on our way to Pine Mountain to the Laurel Festival. My grandson's 12 years old, and we live in a faraway land called Trigg County, Kentucky, way over in the west. And I told my grandson 3 or 4 weeks ago, I said, you know, we're going to stop by Cumberland Falls. And he said, well, isn't that where they have the Moon Bowl? And I was a little bit excited that he at Trigg County Schools, the faraway land over in western Kentucky, that the school system had studied Cumberland Falls. He knew exactly what it was and knew what it was famous for. Because Cumberland Falls and all of our state parks are valued and loved by our citizens, you know, as was mentioned, it's our obligation to take care of them in the long term. That's why we are so excited here today, and we're really here to celebrate. We want it to be a celebratory mood, and that's what we're doing here. It was, as Don mentioned, it was a long up and down situation to know exactly how much money we would get. So thanks to the support of Governor Bevin and the General Assembly, an additional $18 million will allow parks to do some things that have long been needed. We view this as an investment, a way to get our customer base back to us, a way to get economic stimulus back to where it has formerly been, because these parks generate tremendous amount of economic activity in our state and indirectly generate a lot of money for our treasury. We'll be able to, I won't go into great details, but we'll be able to paint lodges, repair exterior siding, do a lot of safety updates. We'll be able to fix a lot of the concrete issues, swimming pools. We have a lot of water treatment plants that need a fair amount of work. Nearly all of them need some work done on them. We weren't able to do that a month ago. We basically were out of money, and we're band-aiding stuff. A question that we get a lot already is how much will we get per park? As Don mentioned, it's a $240 million problem, and we're so happy to have 18. But as we go through we'll have to go through the RFP system to see how much all of our top projects are going to cost out, and then that tells us how far down the list we can go with each and every park. Although we do have a rough idea at this point where we can go with the money. We look at this as a beginning, not an end. It's a beginning of recovery. And if you see the chart over here to my left, you can see that the parks have been starved quite a while. So this is a beginning to start bringing these parks back and our economic impact dollars back to us. Again, it's a $240 million problem that we have, and it's been known for quite a while. Here at Cumberland Falls, to be just a little bit more specific about where we're at today, we had some bad news a few weeks ago that we had to shut down the pool for the entire summer. When we started to open it up, it was in too bad a shape to open it up. We had to make a press release that the pool is down for the year. One of the top priorities was that was down. When we found out how much money we were going to get, we started ordering the componentry to open that swimming pool back up. And so that was some really, really good news for this park in the area. Here we're going to re-roof the mechanical room, repair the roof on the main lobby. We had some leaking problems last night here. And leaking problems have caused us big problems the last year at Greenbow, for example, that caught on fire due to a leak. Paint the cabins, add signage, and just see where the money takes us. I want to underscore that at this point that this money is for existing buildings and needs, not to put up new buildings, not to expand our footprint. It's to take care of what we have. Some are decades old. Governor, I want you to know that we intend to spend this money wisely and as quickly as we can, as quickly as the system will let us spend it, and we will do what's best for the interest of our state park system. So how can you help us? How can you help? You can bring conferences back. You can come and have dinner at the parks. Again, we have some of the best food in the United States with the team that we have now doing the food preparations. Come back for dinner. If you feel so inclined, join one of our friends groups. We have tremendously strong friends groups throughout this park system. And if you want to make a donation, make it to the Kentucky State Parks Foundation. They do a lot of work for us, bringing children to the parks, and so we really appreciate the foundation. So if you get a chance, support the foundation. Again, thank you, Governor, for your support and this additional funding for our state parks, and thank you all for coming out today. Don?
Well, we covered a lot of ground there real fast, so if the media has any questions about the restoration of the park system, let's go ahead and have at it. Any questions to any of us? Yes, ma'am. Oh, good. Oh, yes, good. Well, we need some new signs. I promise you, about 2 months ago, it took me an hour and a half to get into the park on a Saturday afternoon. I kept going up the wrong road, up in a wrong neighborhood. But we do need some signs. You're absolutely right. Need them badly.
Nothing like having the secretary get lost for an hour to help you realize new signs are on the way. The one thing I want to touch on real quick is, any questions you might have, is I don't think we've mentioned the number. It is just short of $1 billion. It's about $890 million worth of economic impact that our state parks have on the state of Kentucky. That's a significant sum. And one thing too that was mentioned, this 11% occupancy, this tax that basically is on the room tax, that has increased 11% over last year. What has sometimes happened, those dollars that were meant to be used for advertising and for tourism, what has happened in recent years is those dollars have gotten swept and put in other places. So the irony is, this incredible gem that we have that has this ability to generate $1 billion, that we've not only not put the dollars back into maintaining, but we've taken the dollars needed not only to maintain, but to advertise what a special thing we have, and we've swept them off in other directions. So on several fronts, we have failed to take advantage of what we have. That is going to change, and these are the two guys that are going to make sure that happens. We will spend every dollar, really and truly.
I think the way the arithmetic works, for every dollar of advertising, we get $15 back in tax revenue. So it makes a lot of sense to spend every dime we possibly can. And that's what we're doing.
Every cent that is accrued for that purpose will be spent on that purpose. Every cent of it, as well as these additional monies that are going to be plowed back in for some of the aesthetics. I want to mention one other thing too. You've heard a lot of talk about things like P3 legislation. We were in this session able to move P3 legislation through. We have had fits and starts for years. Again, Senator Stivers was instrumental in helping to make this happen. Senator Wise and others as well in shepherding this through the legislature. It has been a long time in coming. What this does is it gives confidence to the private sector to be able to come alongside these incredible places that we have, and to know that they can sign a, say, 20-year contract long enough to be able to amortize their investment, the investment they'll make to helping us come up with this $240 million worth of need. The dollars are there. The return on that investment will be there. It's just a function of priming that pump. And so this is what we are doing, and the P3 legislation is an important step in allowing us to start. We've already started to see down in Pineville with the zip lines a perfect example of the ways in which you can bring the private sector together with our state parks to offer up something that will only continue to make these things more of an attraction to people. Any questions at all on anything?
These private... Oh, yes.
Yeah, lots
Yeah.
and lots and lots.
They have not been bashful about that. Mainly it has been a few. Oh, Donnie, why don't you take some of these questions, because you handle some of these calls yourself.
We do. Actually, we've had a lot of cancellations of major groups. At Lake Barkley, where the park that I live closest to, for example, we've lost, I've got the list, I don't know exactly, but about 25 groups have stopped using Lake Barkley because of air conditioning issues, roof leak, mold on the walls, concrete work. So we get a lot of complaints. I've got 2 or 3 waiting on my iPhone right now, relative to customers that were unhappy about certain things that they had to endure during the recent holiday. So we do, and we address every one of those. We have a system for addressing every one of those complaints, and so this will be helpful in the future to help us answer some of these issues. It will.
Exactly.
It will.
I don't think we want Donnie writing our advertising brochures after that report on Lake Barkley. But the good news is we know the problems, and Donnie is absolutely laser focused on fixing that kind of stuff. That's the kind of thing we have to get fixed quickly.
Here's what I'll say, and again, I keep pumping these guys up, but it is important. These are 2 guys, they didn't need this job. Neither one of them did. Don has been retired 4 times now, I think, but came back because he has a passion for this. He believes in the arts and the heritage and the natural beauty that we have in our state park system. Donnie is a guy who's been to, have you been to all 120 counties yet with your grandson?
Just about.
Just about. I mean, he's traveled around the state for years, long before he was in this position, because he has a love for our state and the beauty and the diversity of our state. That this is something he has done just as a matter of personal joy, that he knows the system down there at Lake Barkley. He knows the entire park system because he has been a user of it. He has seen this. He came to us with a passion and a heart to be part of the solution. That is why I am so confident that we are going to do well with these dollars. Yes, it's only $18 million, but it's $18 million that literally did not exist. We were not sure how things would be able to get done. This pool that's here, that's a fantastic pool, would not have opened. I'm pointing because it's, I guess, over here across the street. Exactly. I got to turn around here. It's not that pool. That's the pool we have until the end of the summer, and then we'll get this pool back again. But the bottom line is, people notice these things, and we want people to come enjoy the beauty, but also have air conditioning that works, have a roof that doesn't leak, have coverage that's available from a internet standpoint, whatever the case might be. That's the very least we owe people. We've got something special. The key is we need to be good stewards of what we have. We've been blessed with something extraordinary, and we are going to be good stewards of not only these locations, but the dollars that the taxpayers have invested in them. And why we got to this situation is because for far too many years, and it's been about 25, 30, 40 years, to be honest, in some instances, we just haven't done anything. We've just delayed and delayed and delayed the maintenance, and those days are over. Other questions on anything? Some of you are like, when's this going to be over so we can get out of the heat? Anything at all? What?
What's the process you're going to use to figure out, I mean, 18 million obviously you said won't do everything. What's the process you use to figure out what gets done first?
It's already been largely determined, and there's 4 distinct areas. I'll let you speak to that.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
Well, we weren't sure how much money we would end up with, so we've been reprioritizing based on the numbers that we were seeing as we went through the process. Safety, making sure that all the safety issues, and those include railings, those include some electrical problems, sidewalk, concrete repair, there's some concrete falling. Those are sort of the priority. Anything relative to safety is sort of the priority. Then aesthetics, then as we move down the list, and it's fluid because, I mean, we had a couple of issues today that kind of changed the priority a little bit, for example. But for the most part, it's aesthetics and safety, and then just seeing how far down the list we can go as we do the RFPs.
We want people to have a good experience, but part of that is by what you see when you first walk up. If it looks nice, if people treat you courteously, that goes a long, long way. And so it's not just the dollars we're spending, it's just the conversations we're having. The attitudes that we greet people with are going to be absolutely impactful on their experience here. No question about it.
I think when you go around to the parks, you see some of these buildings need painting, but what's interesting is it is a great customer experience once you get inside. Flat screen TVs, new drapes, new bedding, new floors. So it's a much better experience than you might think when you drive up. But we're getting around to painting it, and we'll get that done in the next few months. One other thing about Lake Barkley, this guy, when he was in high school, was mowing the lawns at Lake Barkley. So he's been trying to get Lake Barkley fixed since high school, however many that year's out.
I like to say that I went from bush cutter to commissioner. That's quite a promotion with them.
Yes, absolutely.
It only took 45 years to make the difference.
Let us, in fairness, unless there's any other pressing questions, why don't we migrate inward? Where should we go? Who can point us in the right direction?
Go in these doors, when we go to the left, there's a reception area.
Okay.
Give them their snacks and soft drinks.
Let's do that. We'll go in and get a cool drink. We'll continue to be able to answer any questions. We can do one-on-one discussions with you all as you need. Thank you for being here, and get excited to be part of the solution.
Very good.